receive whatever your practice has in store for you today. Just that idea of receiving and being nourished by your breath and your practice today. So as you make your way into this art of being, it is not easy sometimes, and just because we lie down does not mean we automatically become relaxed. It is a practice. So in this time, it's your opportunity just to notice any physical sensations and fidget if you need to, eventually drawing yourself, I like to say sometimes back home, like kind of reconnecting with your mind body and your physical body. Noticing any physical sensations. Maybe it's where you feel the inhalation, where the inhalation initiates. Part of the body moves as you inhale. Try to create some softness through the face. Feel free to open the mouth and move the jaw around, and letting go of any clenching. And then some attention to the exhalation. And you allow yourself in your exhalation to, it's almost like you're saying, ah, as the body exhales, letting all of that breath empty from the lungs. So I chose this reading, I think I said I read it as well on Wednesday, but about being curious, that idea of curiosity and being curious with your practice today. It's not so much about the poses as it is about the sensations in the poses. That's really where the yoga is. So being curious about little subtleties and ways that you're moving today. Judith Lassiter says, being curious is a high state of being. When you are curious, you're not sure you know. You're a little empty, and you're willing to learn. These qualities bring you into the present, and being present is at the heart of practicing yoga. So maybe how can you be a little more curious in your practice this morning? Doesn't matter whether you're new to yoga or you've been practicing for a million years. That's the beauty of yoga. There's always ways of being curious. And then wherever you are, maybe take your right hand to your belly and your left hand to your chest. Take a breath in through the nose, feeling that expansion through the front body. And then as you exhale, imagine that you're directing it to any place that you feel a little more tension or tightness or soreness. Again, inhale. Try not to over effort, just a deep inhale and a deep exhale. Inhaling and receiving the nourishment from your breath. And exhale and releasing any places where you feel tightness, tension. It can be in the physical body or the mental body. Trying to be aware of relaxing into the shoulders, into the face. And if you do have a support that's high, like if you do have just the block, maybe press into the feet and lift that support out, but keep your knees bent and feet on the floor. If you're lying down, you can stay as you are. Or if you were lying down with your knees bent, you can also stay as you are. And so we'll deepen the breath a little bit. So you keep your hands there if it's comfortable, or you can also take both hands on the belly instead of one hand on the belly and one on the chest. And this time, as you take a big breath in, notice maybe how you arch the back as the belly comes up, a little exaggeration of your pelvic tilt. And then as you exhale, notice how the back of the head slides away, your lower back makes a little imprint. So no forcing, just feeling. It's nice to have your hands on the belly because you actually are really aware of the movement and then also the deep inhalation and the softening and the exhalation. If you can make it as easy as possible so that you're not creating any tension in the lower back. It might be a tiny little adjustment or it might be more exaggerated. Depends on how you feel. And then come back to your neutral spine, which is not pressing directly down onto the back, having that little, maybe you kind of just shimmy on your sacrum, the bony part of your spine, and just shake a little back and forth, a little traction, very gently. And then this time as we inhale, you're going to breathe, bringing the breath into the belly. Draw the breath up through the rib cage and into the chest. As you feel the breath into the chest, maybe the shoulders start to roll away and you feel more broad in the collarbone. So it's up to you how much you want to exaggerate this and how much you want to just create some ease. So it can be soft sensation or more dynamic. It's up to you. Imagine that you're breathing all the spaces that you can't yet feel in your body. All the places that are holding or tight. New, fresh nourishment. And the next time that you finish your exhalation, you can float the hands out to the sides, the elbows are bent, and make sure that your arms are where they can be relaxed so that your shoulders are also relaxed. Take a big breath in through the nose, and just let it out through the mouth. One more time, in through the nose. Let it out through the mouth. And then take a moment just to notice any physical sensations. Nice. And then you can slowly take your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top. Just take a moment to reflect on something that you're grateful for at this very moment. And on your next inhale, just let the palms float up over the top of the head. Give yourself a big open stretch, taking the arms out above the head and then around to the side. And then just slide the fingers and the arms back up over the top of the head. And then bring them back down. If you have your feet on the floor, go ahead and lengthen the legs so that they're long towards the outer edges of the mat. Shake out your hips a little bit if you already have them long. And join us by starting to flap the feet in towards each other. You're just rolling on the heels and you're just kind of flapping. I like to think of this as like little bird wings flapping around. My shoulders are relaxed, the arms are relaxed, the rest of my body's relaxed. And then let the feet go. Stretch, point through the toes, and hover the hands a little bit and the arms. Reach through the fingers, palms are facing up towards the ceiling. And then just give yourself this opening, and then just relax and let it all go. Good. This time flip the palms facing down. You can keep the hands down or you can hover either way. So it's an internal rotation of the shoulders. Reach through the fingertips. This time flex into the feet, flex into the hands. Maybe press the calves down, back of the head down, and then relax everything. Good. And then start to slide your feet back in. Bring your knees a little bit towards your hips, maybe not all the way in towards the chest, just towards the hips. Hold on to the kneecaps, and then start to take some circles. So options are just keep the knees together and take a smaller circle that really gets more into kind of like a little massage for the lower back. Or maybe you like to take wider ones, taking the knees in and then around and then out. So you can roll the shoulders around as well. Get the shoulders and the hips. So you're really just giving the hip socket some circulation to kind of boost that synovial fluids movement around that joint, and then take it in the other direction. And if there's something else, other intuitive way of doing this that feels good to you, feel free to make it happen. Good. And then place one foot down, then place the other foot down. Take your hands to the sides Take your hands so that they're facing down, and it's almost like bridge pose here. And then press into the feet, relax the elbows and the forearms, and then just lift your hips up enough so that you can take your left or right hand and just slide it behind you so you have enough space to get your hand there. And then just bump your hips a little to the right, bump them a little to the left. Try not to create any tension in your neck. Just keep your eye gaze, or I like to keep my eyes closed. This kind of brings you a little more inward. But don't rock your head a little side to side here. And then press into the heels and the mound of the toes, which is right below the toe pads. And then just feel maybe your expression of bridge pose here. So it's early, so you don't need to go into your fullest expression, but just give some activation to the legs, the quads, and the hips. And then come back down nice and slow. So inhale here and lift, and then just give yourself whatever expression you would like. Maybe think of the inner thighs, like a block there, and you're squeezing it in the thighs slightly. Try to relax the back of the head, pull the head way towards the back of your mat as you draw the knees forward, and then lower down nice and slow. So you can continue doing this, or you can come with us and we're going to take the arms over the top of the head and explore there. So options are to float the hands as you push into the feet. Let the hips float up, hands float up, fingers are towards the ceiling, and then lowering down nice and slow. Or you can continue to take the hands over the top of the head, flipping maybe the palms so they face up. As you exhale, take your whole exhalation and bring your lower back lands lastly. So either way, you explore your energy level today. There's no right or wrong expression, just safe for you. Doesn't mean you have to lift the hips super high as you're taking the hands. Really important to cue breath with the movement. And then the next time, take 2 more. And the next time that you come down, relax the shoulders. And so Wednesdays, I try to mix in a little bit more strength and balance things. So we're going to work on strengthening our hips a little bit. So, and then I promise I'll give you a little hip opener. So hands are to the sides. So basically it's bridge pose. And you come up, and you really need to have some activation. It doesn't have to be your biggest expression, but you have to have some activation. Use your shoulders, broaden them to help support and lift the hips. And then you're going to walk your left foot in just maybe like an inch or 2. And you're going to start to shift the weight onto that left foot. So press into the mound of the toes, and then bring the energy back through the heels. And then just play around with lifting the right toes. Really important to just check and make sure that your pelvis isn't completely dropping on the right side. So you should feel, and then press like you're pressing forward into your foot, right? You're pressing more, maybe a little bit more into the toe pads. And feel, hopefully you feel, definitely feel it in the quad, but you hopefully feel it in your hip as well. And then lower down. Doesn't matter how long you hover that right foot or if it even comes off the ground. It's just a matter of shifting the weight, strengthen on that left side. Let's try it one more time on this side and over to the other side. So inhale through the nose, let it out through the mouth, relax. And if you're not up for that today, then feel free to just take your bridge and explore in your bridge pose. And you can also take that knee and come up into 45 degrees. Sometimes I find lifting the leg higher is actually a little more helpful. Make sure your lower back is okay. So lift, 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 strong into your left hip, and lower everything down and relax. We'll switch to the other side. Take a moment and just notice if you feel any sensations there. So bring your feet back in as you would into bridge pose to Bandha. And then you're going to walk that right foot in slightly and then lift up. Start to lift, and then you don't even have to lift the left foot up off the ground. You can just shift the weight, right? Like you can press more into the right heel and toes, and then you can go back over to the other side. So you still get that sensation of strength into the hip. 4 more. Press that right hip more up towards the ceiling as you play around with lifting the toes or bringing the knee and the leg in 45 degrees. Use your shoulders, use your shoulder blades, use your arms, use your hands, and certainly your breath, and then lower down nice and slow. I think that was only 1, right? So one more time, promise. Press the foot in, right, Lift the right hip up. And then once you're feeling stable, use the back of the head, use your shoulders, use your palms, and then lower down nice and slow. All right, and lift the knees, bring the knees in towards the chest. You can hold under the thighs or in front of the shins, either way. Take a big breath in and let it go. Good, so then we'll take if you have a block, it's really sometimes nice, especially in the beginning of your practice, to use the block for one of your feet, you right or left, it doesn't matter. It just helps bring the ground up. Or if you have really tight hips, it's nice to have this. You're going to reach your right leg up towards the ceiling and then cross that ankle to the opposite side of the thigh and take your number 4 stretch. So I think we talked about this before, that this pose is, it doesn't always feel as amazing for everyone. And so I like to offer you, so stay here. This is a good one for you. Use your right hand. Maybe a little kickstand. Take a breath in and out. Use your breath with the pose. Or you take a completely different pose. I feel like that may create some overuse, doing that hip opener constantly. So walk your left foot in towards the center. Still raise up the right leg, but then cross the right thigh over the left thigh. Sometimes staying here is enough. Otherwise, you can lift that left foot off the ground, like you're drawing the knees towards the chest. Notice if you feel that. Hip flexor. On the right side usually. Or you can hold the knees and draw the knees in. Like you're squishing them in towards the belly. You feel a little bit more action. So lots of places to play. So breathe. Maybe if you're in the number 4, red. Take a breath in through the nose, big inhale in through the nose, and then as you exhale, just don't release the pose, but just sort of surrender into the pose. Taking that exhalation where you need it. And we will all, you can stay there for longer, but we'll move on. So uncross, however it feels you were doing, just uncross the legs. If you use the block, put it under the opposite foot. Make sure that the foot is directly behind the thigh. And take your time, either the thread or crossing. So you're going to lift the left leg up and then just slowly, gently take the ankle bone so it's on the opposite side of the right thigh. Or continue with your thread there. Most of you have all done this pose, not quite 1,000 times, but I'm sure almost. And then walk the right foot in towards the center with the left leg cross the thigh if you want to take the crossed legs thigh over thigh. Experimenting here, it might be different on this side. Each side is a little different, so feel free to explore lifting the right foot off the ground, drawing the knees in maybe closer, or not. Sometimes people like to rock a little tiny bit side to side, not too much. You don't want to go all the way into a twist. Take your time, breathe, explore, and get curious. Is there somewhere that you are noticing a lot of tightness? It's better to come out of the pose slightly, or just ease off the pose a little bit and keep breathing back into and closer maybe to your edge, but gently we like to explore around the edges of our edge, not necessarily go to our edge. Good. And wherever you are, inhale deeply, exhale completely, and then you can slowly unwind and release. And then just take a moment to notice what would be intuitively. What would you want to do intuitively? Would it be take a big, long, let your body go long, or would it be draw the knees in towards the chest? So listen to your body. And then we'll all meet in a big stretch, like starfish pose. So take your legs wide, maybe even a little wider than the mat if you have the room. Open the arms like a Y. Give yourself a big, big stretch here. Reach a little bit more through the right fingers to feel that starting, initiating from underneath your arm. And then let that arm soften and then reach over towards the left, like having a little tug on the fingers. And then slowly relax back down. Bring your feet together and your arms down to the sides. Imagine that you're in Tadasana pose on the ground. So flex through the heels. Maybe even think about the toes coming back towards you. Arms are to the sides. You can hover or not. Lift up the head, little tip of the chin, and then reach the back of the head towards the back of the rim. So you have this understanding we're rooting down and then we're rising up. Just enjoy this Tadasana pose for a minute on the ground, and then you can soften and let it all go. And then draw the knees in towards the chest. Take your feet wide towards the outer edges of the mat. Take your arms to the sides first, palms floating up. And then just let your knees, the right knee drop, maybe 20% of your actual range. And then inhale through the center. Let the left knee drop, and slowly the right follows. And then go back and forth a few times. But with that curiosity of starting where it's blissful, the lower back's like, okay, I'm digging this. And you just ease into maybe a little bit more range. And maybe your head sways the same direction as the knees at the same time. Take a quick check and make sure that your chin doesn't tuck in towards your collarbone or your shoulder. Maybe lift up and let the chin rotate with some more space. Might feel better on the neck. Good. And then you can roll over to the right side. Let the knees then fall naturally. If you have your blanket or your bolster handy and you're feeling like it's a little too much today, especially maybe on the top hip, then just support underneath your right thigh for a moment. You can also add opening your arms up to a T, but that's only if you're feeling no pain or tweaks in the lower back. It's better to keep the arms lower for your lower back. And then maybe you rock your head side to side and let it roll over towards the left. Your knees to the right, your head can roll over to the left. Take a big breath in through the nose. Let it out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. See if you can relax into your right shoulder, and maybe a little bit more into your left shoulder. Use your inhalation to bring you back up to the center, lifting the left leg first as the right leg comes to follow. Stay in the center for a moment. And get yourself kind of wiggle around a little bit and feel a little more centered. You can lift the hips even and then drop them down gently. And then take that left knee and let it start to float over to the left as the right, so your knees are staggered, almost like pages in a book. Windshield wipers is also another visual. And then again, if you feel a little too much with that right side, sometimes I even just tuck something behind, like I have a blanket handy, so I just tuck the blanket right behind my back on the right side. So I have something to sort of fall into as opposed to just hovering and feeling that tension. And then feel free to play around or go ahead and put it underneath the left thigh. Blanket, bolster, pillow, whatever you have. And then you can rock the head a little side to side. Eventually maybe you pick your eye gaze, or keeping your eyes closed again is even more enjoyable. Take a big breath in through the nose, let it out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose. Full, deep, nourishing inhalation and exhaling and releasing. Melting into the pose. So remember, you can modify it as much as you need to so that you can stay and breathe as opposed to being so open that you are creating tension somewhere else. Relax into the left shoulder and then let the right shoulder relax down a little. Soften through the face. And then using your inhalation, start to roll the knees, the right comes up and the left follows. Take any support you have, just take it to the side. Start to slide your arms maybe out to the side, just bending into the meat of the arm, the elbows, so that you can take them over the top of the head or by the ears, and then bring your legs in a little closer towards each other. Reach the arms up, maybe the palms can connect, and bring your hands down to your heart. And your body says thank you to you. And then bring the knees in and up, roll over onto your right side. We're going to come up to hands and knees, so take your time. And remember that the yoga is also in the transitions. So be kind and keep your zen while you're moving. And we're going to come to doing some hip swirls. So bring your knees over the hips for now, feet are directly behind you. Walk your hands a little bit further away than in a neutral table, so you have a little bit more angle. And then first just come forward and drop maybe into the hips. And then lengthen back. So feel like it's a nice little stretch for the front of the hips, but also front of the thighs. Also lengthening into the back, which should feel good. And it doesn't matter, your shape might be different than my shape, but you're really thinking about the sensations more than you're thinking about what the pose looks like. So it's different for all of us. And once you come up this time, you take your knees slightly wider, and then we're going to circle the hips around. So you're going to bump the right hip out to the right, circle around. Maybe you think about like you're stirring a pot with your hips. And you can keep the small circles again. Listen to how it feels for you. Or you can go wider, taking one hip back towards the heels and circling around that way. Dropping your head and relaxing the neck and the head is also a great thing to do. This is a super organic pose. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just make sure that you're using your inhalation as you come forward, and as you're moving into the contraction or the stretch, you're taking your exhalation there. Circle in the other direction. So start with the right, head over to the left. And again, this is a nice pose to see how much ease, especially if you have any cranky parts this morning. It's better to start with the ease of the pose and the breath and ease into a little bit of depth. But and then coming back up, give yourself an inhale. And as you inhale, feel, come into your neutral table, so adjust so that your knees are under your hips and you have your feet directly behind you. I like to take my fingers and tap my fingers first and then slide, like I'm sliding down onto the fingers and then the pad of the thumb and then the wrist. And then actually almost like I feel like I'm connected to the sticky mat, and then I press a little forward so that the weight isn't all on the wrists. And then take some cat-cow, so as you feel that inhalation coming, feel that chest move forward towards the front of the mat, not necessarily up, just skin. Try not to extend any wrinkles in the neck, soft neck, and exhaling. This is a great kind of mindful meditation, this pose. Close your eyes and you just let the feel of your breath start to draw the chest forward as you inhale, and start to exhale, start to round and completely empty. And then come down onto your forearms and just flip your palms facing up. Spread your fingers as much and as deeply as you can. Like, really think about the thumb coming away from the first finger and the pinky coming away from the ring finger. It feels good, especially with all the zooming that we're doing, and obviously all the phone texting and things that we do. And then take your thumb to your pinky finger, and just touching the pads, the top pads of each finger. Just go back and forth. Let your head drop, or shake your head, relax it. And then make a fist. Once you've done both fingers, take your time and rest your little on that. And then roll the wrists around in one direction, and then circle in the other direction. Make sure you're still breathing. All right, and then take your palms so that your palms are facing down and forearms are facing up, and then just tap your fingers and your forearms and your back of your palms. It sounds really loud, but it's really not very painful when it's pushing back. All right, and now hands are ready to rock and roll into a little balance here. So take your left leg back, bend your knee a little bit, give a little stretch into your hamstring and your Achilles, back of your heel. And then think about your hands. Energy is lifted, you're not sinking into your wrists. And keep that right leg pushed to the left leg behind you. Press through the heels, so you're creating more space right here in your lower back. Right? And keep that. You can stay here, and you can lower down anytime that you need, or you can continue to take that arm in front of you, drop the shoulder, bring it back into the shoulder socket, and then flip the palm, take it out to the side, so the palm is facing down. Changes the orientation and the balance a little bit. Okay, so pull the belly up and in maybe a little bit, so there's not so much energy going into that wrist, and then bring everything down. Lift the palms, shake them out, or make fists, roll around the wrists, give yourself a break, take a little peek, and dropping your head in between your feet. Good. And I find it more difficult actually on the mat and the cushion on my hand, so that's kind of why I do that a lot. And next, much kinder, I think, to have a nice hard surface in balance poses in a minute. Okay, and then you're going to take your right leg back, and you can pulse, maybe bend the knee, and then pulse back. Open, close, thinking of lifting that thigh bone a little bit, and then we'll shift. When you shift the weight, just make sure too that you don't shift the weight too far forward. That's really uncomfortable place for your wrists. All right, so then you're going to lift, feeling that connection with the earth. The whole hand is doing work, even pressing forward a little bit into fingers, like you're pushing the fingers towards the front of the mat. You can flex the foot, nice and strong. The more you flex into that foot, the more you pull that leg away, the easier it is to actually balance here. Rotate down the right hip slightly. You want to stay there and then lower the leg anytime that you like. And just practice going up and down there. The hand out in front, that would be the left, draw the arm back in the socket, and then maybe flip the palm, reach the fingers out to the side, right around for balance here. Inhale, exhale, lift the belly up and in a little bit, so rounding the upper back slightly. And then placing the hand down, flipping the palms, both knees are down. You can come into your puppy pose, or you can take extended child's pose. The puppy pose, we keep the hips high, walk the hands or the arms about underneath the shoulders, in front of you, fingers are facing forward. You can walk the arms and stretch back, or if you prefer, open up the knees. Put support under there if you need to, or even support behind the thighs and on top of the calves. And experiment or get curious about either one of those poses. You can rock the hips side by side. Maybe you some people like to stay in the static pose and just stay with the breath and breathe. Awesome. Some people like to give it some movement while they're breathing, while they're there. So just take time to experiment and get curious a little bit here. You have your arms stretched out in front in puppy pose. Feel free to start to walk the arms back in a little bit so that you can just think about the length of the back, not so much the stretch through the shoulders. Take your time. Reconnect with your breath. Inhaling, receiving nourishment, exhaling, and releasing. And then slowly start to peel yourself away. So as you kind of peel yourself out, start to bring your fingers a little closer towards you and coming up onto your knees with your feet directly behind you. You can curl the toes if you'd like, or keep the tops of the feet there. And then take a breath in, rise the arms up, and then just circle the arms around a few times. You can bend and make it a little bit more creative if you want to. You can think about taking a heart opener when you come up, or just take that circle of the arms. A little bit more space in the front body. Notice how the lower back feels. Certainly curling the toes is almost like having a little kickstand. That's accessible. Good, and then we're all going to meet back with our arms to the sides. We're going to go ahead and curl our toes now. Check and make sure your knees are directly underneath of your hips and your feet are behind you. And then press into the toes. So the more you press into the toes and you push your hip points, it's not so much pushing out here with the belly, it's just pushing those hip points. Because I actually put my hands here and then I'm like twisting, or even here, pushing forward. It's a nice stretch right here, especially in your psoas. And stretching the toes as well. And you can take the hands to the sides, maybe lift the chest so the chest rise up towards the ceiling, not necessarily out, draw the fingertips down. And you can experiment and get curious here, either staying with your head, or you can start to slide, be mindful of your knees, and it's a lot of stretching the quads. Just playing around with leaning back and forward. Notice this would be your inhalation. Exhale. The micro movements. And exhale, undo the toes. And you're going to bring your left foot forward and come to standing. So I always just give this option that if you have one foot forward, you curl the back toes, put both hands on one thigh, press down as you push off that back foot. It is a little bit graceful. All right, so we're going to just come to standing. We'll try a little bit of balance standing up as well. So just kind of shake yourself out. Feel free to do any loose movements. And I'm going to actually get rid of my mat because it's just too much cushion. Balance poses for me. And so be reminded that if you are on carpeting, it's very different. And so just let yourself adjust here. And then come into toes and heels, like coming up onto your toes and your heels a lot. And if you have a piece of furniture or a wall handy, feel free to do that. And bend a little into the knees when you're coming to the heels. And you can always kind of play around here with the balance. But think about maybe noticing your feet, and are you a roll to the side or roll in type of foot person? And then just kind of notice, maybe try doing the opposite, right? So if you kind of notice, oh, I do kind of roll out, and maybe as you move up and down, try rolling in slightly. Always good to do the opposite, get out of our patterns sometimes. Good. Very nice. All right, and if you have a block handy, go ahead and keep it. Might be helpful. And balance pose. So think about your Tadasana first. So both legs are nice and strong as you're pressing through the heel and then into the mound of the toes. And you're drawing the energy up the legs to the side body, rising up through the crown of the head as the feet are rooting down. Close your eyes. That can be a balance challenge in itself sometimes. A little lift of the chin, shoulder blades relax. Heart is soft, chest is open. Good. Notice if you are being pulled in one direction or another. Breath is soft. And then you can open up the eyes. So we're going to play around with taking one leg to the other side as you're strengthening in. So we'll say we're going to strengthen the left leg first. So I have to kind of do this for a second to remember what I was doing earlier. So I think we're going to open. Okay, take the block to the side. We don't need the block right now. We're going to open up. Arms are to the sides. Fingers are spread. point the toe of the right foot, and then you're just going to circle it in front of you, and you can play around with bend the knee and come to the tippy toes. Or you can circle it around, come to the tippy toes, and then cross the leg and sit down a little bit. So it's all just practicing strengthening into that ankle, strengthening into that leg, left leg. Find a drishti. So it's really a lot about the leg, the arms. This is just I'm going to add on to the arms in a minute, but you can certainly keep your arms down on your hips if you'd like. So this time, as you take it to the side, if you want to, I'm thinking that you can either cross one arm under the other and give yourself a hug. You're still really focused on balancing. So I had the block because I wanted the block to be there. So that was a very terrible way of teaching you that. So probably just easier to not have the block there for now. And then open up, take your leg out nice and wide, and then bring the hands down to the sides. Try to slide the foot into your tree pose. So maybe you just want to take the sole of the foot and bring it in towards the ankle. I feel like I'm really out here to the side. So hug in towards the midline. Hands can go at the heart. And then you can certainly play around. Just try not to push on the knee. It's hard because most of the time as we practice for a long time, you're like almost above the knee, but you see people just kind of land there. It's not good to be on your joints. Just on your joints. And then rotate that knee in and let it go. And then just walk out your feet a little bit. Roll out the shoulders and we'll try it on the other side. So remember, keep the block. All right. All right, give yourself some space also if you need some more space. Take the arms out as you inhale. Exhale, relax the shoulders. And then you're going to start to shift the weight onto the right leg and the ankle, strengthening there, but you have your toes pointed out here. You could stay there and just drag the toes to the side without lifting them up. It's tricky. And then just bring them to the side. Or you can continue to sit and create lifting up of the toes. So your inhale and your exhale. Inhale, don't worry so much about how it looks. It's more about how it feels. Your intention is to create the balance in a very curious manner here. Good. And then you can add the arms, either take them to the sides or on your shoulder, on your hips, or as you bring the arms around, take that opposite arm and then open. And if your breathing is the other way around, it's okay. Make sure you're breathing. We'll just do it one more time. I'm sure your leg is getting a little tired, as mine is. And then drop the hands gently. Start to slide the foot into your tree pose. And then try to hug in. Think about the inner thighs coming towards each other. Find that drishti. Your eyes, remember your eyes want to go, your body wants to go where your eyes go. And find that one point of focus. Take one big breath in. Exhale and soften. Bring that knee back around and let that knee come down. All right. And then just come down to your hands on the thighs, and then just give yourself a little rock side to side. You can get your shoulders involved if you'd like. Kind of a little bit more twisty, but just checking with your lower back. And then stretch out. Think starfish pose. So arms are up, chest is down, shoulders are down. Hug in your rib cage slightly. Fingers or feet are out to the side. And inhale and then exhale. Good. And then you can slowly come back down onto the mat. Again, take your time. Yoga's in the transition as well. All right, so let's see. Let's go ahead and take Baddha Konasana. So we'll sit for a second and just take, I would highly recommend if you have support to put it underneath. so that you have something a little bit higher, so when you come, your hips drop, and your legs drop a little lower than the hips. This is about a very high length that I have going on here. And then if you do have a bolster, then you can take the really even more yummy version. And some people don't need the bolster. I personally, hips do not like to knot when lying down. So Baddha Konasana, sorry, if you're on a support, you're going to bring the soles of the feet together. You're rooting up with your head and rooting down with your sits bones. And then holding onto either the shins or underneath the thighs. So that's one version. Turn this down so you can see me a little better. And the other version is if you have a bolster or you have even a blanket will work as well. Bolster is a bit nicer because you have that bringing the ground up. Come onto your back, bring the soles of the feet here. And then I like to get nice and close so that my thighs, abs are supported. I'm still feeling a little bit of a stretch. So it's not as large of a stretch. It's a little bit more of a soft opening. You can even drape the feet over. So, and both of those, like I said, some people lie on their backs, take Baddha Konasana and not yet have any discomfort in their lower back. So you're certainly welcome to explore that. But there's lots of different variations. Go back to the sitting so you can see. Give yourself some movement if you prefer. So remember, just kind of explore. There's different ways to explore and lots of different views and lots of different subtleties in every pose. So if you're lying down, you can stay there and maybe just move the bolster out of the way. If you're sitting up, go ahead and draw your knees in towards each other. Maybe take them long for a moment, flex into the heels. Think about moving down. Maybe take the arms up over the top of the head, shoulders in the sockets, flex to the feet for a moment, and then just relax, let the feet relax. And then we'll all meet on our backs. So coming onto your back, we're going to slowly make our way down. I want you to just lift your feet up. If you have a block, you can do this with the block underneath as well if you like. Don't have to stay too long. So just getting the circulation in a different direction. Right, so flex into the heels, maybe point the toes, big bend into the knees. Rock your head a little side to side. Let your shoulders go. Good, flex, point. Nice, and then drop your right leg down so that your foot is on the floor. And then bring your hands behind your left thigh. And you can point and flex here. Stay with this. Keep this hip rooted. Not to let it come up off the ground. Or you can start to straighten the leg a little bit more. You can even draw, looking at the chest, coming up towards the thigh. A lot more dynamic. So just paying attention most importantly to your lower back. Otherwise, just hold in here. You can even draw it in for the chest and see how that feels. Relax the shoulders. So you're getting a nice circulation, moving in a different direction, but you can also move into more of a stretch if you'd like. Eventually, just letting that foot float back down. Kicking the feet wide for a moment, letting the knees fall open gently so you're on the sides of the feet. Give a big lift into the belly, arch the back, and then lower down with circulation. Bring the knees back in, walk the feet in. You're going to leave the left foot on the ground, knee bent, and then reach up with the right leg. Hold behind the thigh. Draw the knee in towards the chest and out. And not to let your head come up. Strain your neck. And then point and flex. Eventually, if you want to get a little bit more stretch, maybe it's a little bit more into the hamstring or not. Here. You can also Pressing your palms into your thigh as you lift with the chest. We'll lift with the chin and lowering down nice and slow. And let that leg relax. And last thing, open the knees nice and wide, flip your feet up towards the ceiling. Hold underneath the thighs. You might want to just get this nice internal or stretch in your thighs. Or you might want to take happy baby pose and rock a little side to side. Take your head, just ragdoll back and forth. Letting the momentum guide you. Don't forget to check and make sure your knees coming too close, you're kind of rounding, it's like rolling on the spine, not so comfortable. Hold on to the shins or even the ankles and draw the knees to the outer edges of the body. Try to flatten a little bit more through the sacrum, lower back. And slowly easing yourself down to the ground. Letting one leg come long and then the other leg long. Shake out the feet. Let the arms come to the sides. And just a moment. And take it. It's really easy, like slithering back and forth. So your legs are long. Your arms can either come to the sides, keep the elbows bent, and you're just gently, you're pressing through the heel or pointing the toe, or not even activating them at all. Just sliding back with your right arm, let's say, and then forward with your right foot. And then the other side, let your head flow naturally. So this is a nice way to pump your lymphatic system. Right, to flush out, get rid of toxins and integrate some more fresh blood flow and cells. Shake out the feet and then finding your way into the Shavasana pose. If you have a piece of furniture or if you want to use your bolster underneath your knees, you can do that. You can float up into legs up the wall. If you want to do that as well. This is kind of a variation of legs up the wall. You can put your bolster. If you have a couch or a chair, you can just put your legs on top. This, come down nice and slow, and enjoy. Have an eye pillow. You want it supporting your head. You know, it's your Shavasana time, and you want to make it as blissful as possible. So, supporting yourself is important to staying comfortable. Wherever you are, take a nice deep breath in through the nose, and just a soft sigh out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose, but out through the mouth. And fingers are floating nice and softly. Arms and shoulders relax. Bring some softness to the base. Just pause and let yourself be carried by your breath. And fully trust the earth below to hold and support you. Integrating all that has changed in you, ever so subtle yet profound. You rest and restore. Take the last few minutes, your own body, mind, and spirit. Slowly start to bring your awareness back. Keep your eyes closed, but just bring your awareness back into the room, into your space. Maybe with some movements, like rocking the head a little side to side, maybe lifting one shoulder and then the other shoulder gently, wiggle the toes. Maybe even taking a big breath and reaching the arms up over the top of the head, not big, but soft breath. And then drawing the knees towards the chest. Pull over onto your right side or left side and just stay there for a moment. Bring your left hand to your heart, your right hand on top, and just a moment to reflect on something you're grateful for at this moment. Slowly bring yourself up to a comfortable seat. Take your time. Once you're there, just put your hands facing up on your thighs. Again, receiving. Close your eyes. Being curious is a high state of being. When you're curious, you're not sure that you know. You're a little empty, and you're willing to learn. These qualities bring you into the present. And being present is at the heart of practicing yoga. Stay curious today. And we'll take a collective inhale. Rise the arms up over the top of the head. Bring the palms together gently. Down to the heart. Tuck your chin slightly, just acknowledging your heart space, your open heart. And thank you so much for joining on your mat today, practicing as a community. And let that light shine within you brightly today and every day. Namaste. Thank you. And feel free to unmute yourself if you want to say hello or goodbye.
Thank you.